let's talk about Foles a little bit, because a lot of people are comparing what we're seeing from him to your ascension, your story that you can't make up. You know, I'm sitting on my chair on game day morning, so I can see your reaction to when people bring this up. Mariucci brought up, like, you can make a movie out of this sort of thing. And the look you kind of gave him was like, you know, I mean, where's the Kurt Warner story?
We're working on it. We're working on it. Working on it.
But I could see what was going on in your head at the time. You know, the Kurt Warner story's been in the making. It's not easy to do. But Foles, you can clearly see, though, the lines that are being drawn. What was going on in your mind back in 99 that you think is actually at play with Foles right now, do you think?
I think the biggest thing is that nobody knows what you feel about yourself, or nobody knows the circumstances you were in. Because people always look at my story like you said, it's a movie, you know, sat on the bench for 4 years, got cut, worked in a grocery store, all that stuff. But I look back and tell people, the funny thing is, why I kept going and believed that I could, you know, do what I did in the NFL was because every time I played football, I was successful. 1 year in college, player of the year in our, you know, conference. You know, I played 3 years in arena football, was the best quarterback in arena football. Played 1 year in Europe, best quarterback statistically in Europe that 1 year. So every time I had played, I knew I could be successful. The problem was nobody else knew that. So when they saw me, they're like, who is this joker? He was stocking shelves. There's no way he can be any good. But in my mind, it was like, you're crazy. I mean, I know I can play. Give me an opportunity, put me between the lines, and I'll show you. And I really believe that's what goes on in Nick Foles' head, is that people want to look at him, you know, for different things. And, you know, he got a chance with the Rams and it didn't work out, or now he's a backup. He can't come. And I think he just basically says, I can play football. I know I can play football, and everybody else wants to write a different narrative. But just go back and look. When I've played, I've been 27-2, you know, his first run with Philly. I mean, you don't just fall into 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions over that period of time. Then he wins the Super Bowl last year, and we're still saying the same thing. Well, yeah, but he's still a backup, right? I mean, but I just think that's the parallel, is I believed I could play the game, put the ball in my hands, and I could do what I've always done. And I believe Nick Foles says the same thing to himself.
Yeah, and that's why I think that's a powerful, potent metric that is an intangible, obviously. But you think just because the Saints have seen him before, it's a week off, it's that building, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, and I think they're the better team. You know, and I even think Chicago was the better team last week outside of the quarterback position. I thought Nick played well in the moment. And although Mitch made some great throws down the stretch, he missed some opportunities early in which I think they could have put that game away. This time around, Drew doesn't miss those opportunities very often. And in that building with those fans, like I said, with a week to really prepare, I think there's too many big plays out there for the Saints with the playmakers they have that I just think this is going to be really, really hard. But let's just say the defense of the Philly is really what's carried it. As much as we want to talk about Foles, the defense has been what's carrying them. 18 points a game since Nick Foles took over. Do you see that happening in the Dome? I don't see that happening in the Dome. I mean, there's going to be 30-plus on the board for the Saints. Now we'll really get to see Nick Foles and the Magic. Can he outscore Drew Brees?
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.